Welcome to Wellbeing Conversations with me, Ayesha. Today, I want to talk a bit about the times we are living in, why so many of us feel overwhelmed, and how we can begin to come home to a sense of safety within ourselves. So, how have you been feeling lately? There are so many changes happening on the planet right now, and these changes are very rapid. Every single one of us is going through this. Major changes globally, there are changes within our communities, in our households, but it all really starts within each one of us. There are big shifts happening energetically on this planet, and that is really needed, and it was guided by us as a collective on another level. And that's a whole other topic of conversation. So today, I just wanted to focus on how so many of us are feeling. I see many clients every week, and one of the common things that so many are feeling now is overwhelmed. Overwhelmed with all of the changes and everything happening in the world, and a feeling of exhaustion, and feeling as though they've had enough. I don't know how much more I can take. I hear that very commonly. There are also big emotional ups and downs for people, and there's a lot going on so many levels. I know this because I feel this too. And simply put, on a practical level, we are moving from survival mode into a better frequency, into a higher frequency. And that frequency, from where we are at the moment, is safety. And learning how to feel safe in the body, learning how to feel safe within ourselves. And as we know, everything starts from within. So when we do the inner work, we teach ourselves, we teach our nervous system a different way to be. And then we start seeing that in our outer world, there are changes too. Therefore, the shift that is happening on the planet is an individual shift. And from there, the collective can shift also. So why are so many of us stuck in survival mode? So one of the things I see so often, both personally and in my work, is just how many of us are living in survival mode, often without even realizing it. And the important thing to understand is that this isn't because we're doing something wrong. See, from the moment we come into this world, simply by just being on this planet, we're exposed to experiences that shape our nervous system and our sense of safety. Some of us are born into busy urban environments, others into quieter rural settings. Some grow up in families that feel emotionally safe and supported, and others are born into homes where there's stress, there's instability, or unprocessed trauma. And then there's a generational layer too. We don't arrive as a blank slate. We're born into family systems that carry histories and patterns and emotional imprints. And when there's been trauma or abuse or chronic stress in a family line, that information doesn't just disappear. It can live in the body, in the nervous system, and even in our genetics. But in saying that, these things happen, but as a soul from a higher perspective, before we come into this reality, we choose our parents, we choose the situation we're coming into. We do that. Why? Because as a soul, we're on that journey of self-mastery. It's for our own expansion, it's for our own growth. But in saying that, this whole cycle of rinse and repeat reincarnation can now come to an end. As we become more aware and awake, we can move into a state of incarnation where we choose where we're going to be and what we're going to do. But that's also a whole other topic of discussion, and I don't want to digress. So what I'm focusing on today is this feeling of moving from survival into safety, into our sovereignty. That's what's happening right now. And so that as we move into this higher frequencies, into thriving, into better ways of being, there needs to be this transition space of moving from where we are now to where we want to be. And so, when we come into this world, as I was saying, You could come in, and these survival themes can be within our genetics. And as we grow, life also continues to shape us. We have experiences, relationships, we have challenges, we have moments that leave an imprint on us. And when those experiences aren't fully processed, when emotions don't get felt, expressed, or resolved, they don't just vanish. They often remain stored in the body as tension, holding, or a quiet sense of, I'm not safe. Over the time, this can become like a baseline for us. So, as adults, we may find ourselves responding to life from that place, not from clarity or calm, but from a subtle state of protection. When something happens, a conversation, a challenge, something triggers you, the body reacts first. There might be fear, there might be tightening, there might be urgency or defensiveness. And when we respond from survival mode, we're not seeing the full picture. We're reacting rather than responding. And when the body feels safe, even just a little, everything changes. You'll find that there's more clarity, there's more choice, there's more space between the experience and our response. We begin to meet life from a grounded place of, I am safe. In this moment, I'm safe, rather than I need to protect myself. And that shift alone can completely change the outcome of a situation. So the question then becomes, how do we begin to move out of survival into safety? So the first thing here is awareness, because once we have awareness, then we are able to shift something and heal it. And the most important thing is being non-judgmental. So having awareness without judging yourself. So one of the first things that I tell people when they work with me is start becoming the observer of your experience, of your body. Start looking at what's happening in your daily life. So a good question to ask yourself on a regular basis is, how am I feeling? Because what I notice is when I see people, for example, today I ran a meditation, a group meditation, and it was a corporate meditation. And this wonderful company has these regular meditations that they want to run for their staff, which is absolutely beautiful. They are in a work environment, so they already have deadlines, they've got stress, they've got all of this going on. And when they come to meditate with me, they're already in that state of stress, fight and flight. So it's really amazing to me to see the shift in people, and it can happen so quickly just by the breath. And obviously I do sound healing, so the sacred sound really does help. But you can do it with breath alone too. And what you'll notice is, so for example, you can even do this now, just as I'm talking. Just tune into your body and just feel, do you notice any tension in your body? Just move your awareness to your shoulders. What do your shoulders feel like? Just talk to your shoulders and go, relax. Allow your shoulder to gently relax. Then move down to your abdomen. We can hold a lot of tension in the abdominal area. As women, we do this a lot. Lower back, we can hold a lot of tension there. How's your lower back feeling? How's your back feeling on a whole? Your jaws, just tune in with your jaws. How do your jaws feel? Quite often we can be quite tense in the jaws, especially if there's been stress. So notice when the body tightens. And notice when the breath shortens as well. So you may be talking to somebody that perhaps triggers certain things in you, and you may not realizing it, but your breath can become a bit more shortened, and you may even hold your breath when you really tense. And also notice when you feel rushed, when you feel guarded, when you feel reactive. Just become the observer of your experience, and you don't have to react to it. Just notice, my body's feeling a bit tense right now. Ooh, that person said that. and I feel all of this emotion coming up in my chest. So just feel what that feels like for you. See, safety doesn't begin with fixing it ourselves. It begins with gently reminding the body that it's no longer back there. Because what happens is when we have situations that have happened in the past, like I've explained, and we've stored it within the body, something that is happening right now that's triggering us, it's basically opening that door in the body where you've stored it and said, I'm still there. I'm still here. This anger is still there. This feeling of unsafety is still there. And so what we're doing is we're just observing without judgment. And one of the most simplest and accessible ways to do this is through the breath. When we slow the breath, especially the exhale, we're speaking directly to the nervous system. We're going from a sympathetic nervous system response, which is this fight and flight, and we're moving into this parasympathetic nervous response, which is relaxing the body, calming the body down. I am safe. You're basically letting the body know, in this moment, I am safe. And from that place, we can begin to respond to life differently, with more presence, with more clarity, and with more compassion, especially compassion for ourselves. This is the work that I love, helping people gently come back into safety within their bodies. Because when you're in this state, it not only affects your body in that you tense and creating anxiety and things like this, but it affects your breath, it affects your sleeping patterns, it affects your digestion, and it affects your feelings of joy and accessing your happiness and your bliss. So in everything that I do, even, in our clinic, I'm also a colon hydrotherapist. So when people come in for a colonic and it's their first time, obviously they're very anxious. They're very nervous because they've never done anything like this before. And the reason why we have so much success in what we do is because the first thing that we focus on is making sure that the person feels safe and relaxed. Because when you feel safe and relaxed, everything becomes so much easier from that point. So basically, you want to remind yourself and your body that you're not alone. You are safe. You're not broken. And one thing that works really well as well is affirmations. And I know for years so many people do affirmations, and I think a lot of people are sort of sick of hearing about affirmations. But the truth of the matter is, even in the healing work that I do, each one of us, we have a team, a non-physical team. In every healing session that I've done, a team always comes through. There's never been a person that hasn't had a team come through. So it's a combination of your higher self, your guides, your ancestors, your totems, and so on. So we are always, always, always guided. And we are never alone. And sorry, my dog was barking in the background, so I had to stop for a second. But what was I saying? So you've always got a team. You're never alone. And one of the things that's guided very often during a healing session is different affirmations that's needed at that time. So when you're going through something and when you're shifting and you're healing, affirmations can be really, really powerful when they're the right words for that moment, for your body and for yourself. And you'll know because you can feel it in your body. And so one of the things that I find, especially on my healing journey, is during different times as I'm healing certain things in my life, I will find just the right frequency of words that creates that shift within my body. And the key for healing, I find, is repetition and consistency. When we're consistent with something, we're actually changing our energetic field, but we're also changing physically things within our body. So by being consistent, for example, even with meditation, doing 10, 15, 20 minutes a day to start off and just being consistent can create changes over time. And repetition is almost like putting in a new program into our body, because once we're doing healing and we realize something and it becomes in our awareness and we start doing the inner work for it, The healing doesn't just stop there. We maintain the healing by continuing the work until we see that it's resolved, or we feel that it's resolved within us. And very often you'll see the changes in your external environment too. But we're not waiting for that changes in the external environment. We're not going, okay, so I've healed that, let me see the change in my world now. It doesn't happen that way. It all happens in divine timing. We heal and we trust that it all happens in divine timing. And over time, you'll become very familiar with that feeling and then seeing it in your physical reality. So, a good affirmation right now to do is to be able to. So, for example, let's say you start to become more aware of what's happening within the body. You're starting to become aware of the times that you're holding more tension, and how you deal with stress and how you react. You just start noticing these things. So when it starts happening, you can start putting your hand on your heart. You can take a few deep breaths in through the nose. You can even go out through the mouth and just elongate the exhalations. Okay, and the body starts to relax, and you can start to relax, and then you'll start to repeat, I am safe, all is well. I am safe, all is well. I am safe, all is well. And when the system is in that fight and flight, and when the body system and the nervous system is just triggered into a response that you always create as a reaction to something because of perhaps a trauma when you were younger, whatever it is, now when you do that, as you're breaking up that pattern, you're starting to tell the nervous system, it's okay, you don't have to go into that pattern anymore. You can relax. I'm not alone. I'm safe. All is well. And after doing that repetitively, the body then starts to believe it, and you start seeing shifts in your nervous system. You start to calm down. You start to, instead of reacting to something, you wait and you respond from a calmer, more clear space. And then you see things start changing in your life. Not only do you start feeling better, not only do you start becoming healthier, but relationships improve over time. And your reality starts to change. Because we know everything is energy, and everything starts from that thought. Because a thought is an energy, it's a frequency going out into the world, creating. So when we start shifting that within ourselves, we start shifting our own reality. And I know that this is possible because when I look back at how I used to be and where I am now, and I'm still learning and I'm still growing, because it's like peeling an onion and getting deeper and deeper, and you think sometimes, oh my God, I thought I resolved this, but it comes back again. So just as an example, when I was younger, I was born into a family that was very loving. My family is amazing, and I've got many beautiful memories growing up. Yet I was born in South Africa, and I was born in an apartheid. And my dad's side of the family is Indian and Egyptian, and my mom's Zulu, so black. And so if you think about that for a moment, I'm already born into that genetics of feeling unworthy in this world and feeling like you don't belong, just by virtue of where I was born and the color that I was born in. And I'm saying this in a conscious way in terms of, I know as a soul, I chose to come through my parents and through that experience to learn and grow. And looking back, it's taught me so many things through my life, right? But I know growing up in that world, in that experience, and not only that, as a kid, I was exposed to certain types of stresses on a regular basis that I know affected my nervous system and that I know put me in that survival mode. And I didn't realize for the longest time until I was an adult that that's how I've been responding to life. And when that realization hits you and you really get it, and then you start making these small, consistent, regular changes, and you start doing that inner work, you see the changes that happens within your outer world over time. And I'm not saying that you can't have big shifts in a moment, because I certainly have had times in my life where I've had specific healings or deep meditation and have had transformations in that moment. But you've got to maintain that too. Things like journaling is really important because we ground that experience. I can't say that enough to my clients on a daily basis. Journal, 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 because it's the way in this reality that we can ground that experience, because you're never going to remember it. Over time, you're never going to remember it. And when you have these mystical experiences, you get the most out of it when you start journaling and taking that effort to write it down, because when you go back in hindsight, you can learn a lot from it. There are other things that I do in my reality to assist me in my life, because I do understand that everything is energetic, and every day we're entangling with people and things, and there's an entanglement all the time, and there's ways in which we need to do our own energy work, our own energy cleanliness, so that we can move in this reality in a more conscious way. I would love to do a talk about energy cleanliness. That's something that I'm very passionate about. And energy cleanliness is not about fear. It's not about being in fear base and something against us or anything. It's just about understanding really simply. See, for me, I am very left brain in that I want to understand things, and it's good to be skeptical and left brain and wanting to know how that happened. Because for me, as you know, I was a registered nurse for many years, so I was very scientific. Why did this happen? And when I started waking up, one of my first experiences as an adult was with crystals, and I had this experience and I couldn't explain it from my scientific medical mind. I'm like, how did that happen? How is that possible? And that was a big opening for me, because I wanted to know. I was interested, and so I started learning all of these things and started understanding it and realizing that, everything is in fact energy. So, thank you so much for being here with me today. I think this is enough for today. If something in today's conversation resonated, please know that you're not alone. And I've also recorded a short guided meditation to support your nervous system and to help you come back into a sense of safety. You're very welcome to listen to it next. But until then, be very gentle with yourself. I find that in everything that we do, in all the healing work that we do, the more gentle we are with ourselves, the more effective it is. So be gentle with yourself. Be kind with yourself. And thank you so much for listening, and I'll be sharing another conversation soon. Enjoy the meditation.